The first part to setting up a server after you take care of your licensing needs is actually making a plan for what hardware you're going to need to run your server on. Now, a great place to get started with that is the tech specs for FileMaker Server. So I'm just going to go Google FileMaker 17 tech specs, and you'll see that FileMaker Server 17 is here. So I'm going to take a look at this tech specs here. So there's a table here that tells you what operating systems work. You got Windows Server 2016, 2012. Make sure to pay special attention to if something is listed with R2 or a release. There's a bunch of different versions of Windows Server, so you could end up with one that's not compatible. For Mac, it supports High Sierra and Sierra. Now, the next section underneath here is an actual recommendation for running FileMaker Server. And you'll note that they used to have, it would be based on the number of users, they would have different requirements. But now that FileMaker scales across up to 5 or 6 servers, a main server plus 5 for the web publishing engine in groups of 100, now you have just a basic table of the minimum and recommended requirements. So the minimum is a dual-core processor, 8 gigs of RAM, 80 gigabytes of hard drive space. It says depending on file size, we'll talk about that in a second here, but the recommended is that you have a 4-core processor. So they recommend you have a bit more horsepower in your CPU, and then everything else is pretty much the same in terms of requirements. So going on here, you take a list at other hardware. So if you're, say for instance, you're deploying something that is going to be FileMaker Go heavy and you're going to have a lot of mobile devices being used, you want to make sure that your mobile devices are compatible here as well. So let's break down this into actual categories here. So you've got the power, which is your processor and your memory. You've got the disk space you're going to need, so you're going to need to figure out how much space your apps are going to take up, plus how much space your backups are going to take up as well. So normally what we do is, if we're hosting an existing app, we're going to take a look at what that file size has been historically, as far back as we can to see how fast it's growing, and try to calculate how much file size they need just to store that drive. Or to store that app. Then after that, we're going to take that and we're going to multiply that by maybe 5 or 10 to get the amount of space that we're going to need for backups, because you want to make sure that you have plenty of space for backups for whatever backup schedule that you come up with. Next thing after disk space is, where is the server going to be? There's offices where the server can't be a cloud server. It has to be inside of the office. So you have to make the determination on if it's going to be a physical server in your presence, in your office, or with a co-located hosting provider, something where you own the physical equipment. And if it's not that, you're more than likely going to end up with a cloud server, like on Amazon's cloud. This training series, we're going to be using a cloud server, not a local server. So that's an important distinction and something you have to plan for. If you're planning for a physical server, you're going to have to plan for, who the IT team is that's going to take care of that server, who's going to host that for you, who's going to respond if there's a disaster, an emergency, like a power outage, that type of thing. So cloud computing is really popular because it removes a lot of that management, that IT overhead that you need. And the last thing to consider is going to be your networking requirements. Now, Amazon's cloud comes with virtual networking that we'll go over later in this course. But if you're doing an in-house, a physical server, you're going to need to consider your internet connection. Is it fast enough, or do you need to get it upgraded with your ISP? Do you need specialized routing hardware to handle the security of your network? So those are some of the determinations that you need to come up with. So best thing to do, grab a pen and paper, start writing down a plan, figure out what it is you're going to need. So I mentioned horsepower in reference to your CPU and your RAM. Now, for you to calculate how much you're going to need there, you're going to have to think about what apps you're hosting in FileMaker. So how many users you're going to have, um, especially what types of users those are. If they're FileMaker Pro users, they're desktop users, or they're FileMaker Go users that are connecting directly to the server itself, then you're not going to have too much overhead on your file just for that connection. But if they're WebDirect users and you're only going with one server versus a distributed server where the web publishing engine is separate, then you're going to have to think that that's going to take some more horsepower to run those users because the server's doing a lot more work. The same thing is if you've got an app that is doing heavy reporting, lots of records, lots of backup, lots of scripted schedules that are running, things that are going to consume those resources, you need to think about maybe bumping up to another server as well. Now, I'll note that FileMaker Cloud makes it very easy to scale between AWS instances automatically. Basically, you turn off the server in one place, create a new server, reattach your drive to that new server, and that boots up ready to go. So if you're not really sure what you're going to be doing and FileMaker Cloud fits for you, the scalability of FileMaker Cloud is a big selling point for it there.